Today I have the pleasure of talking to an all-round presenter boss, but it goes deeper than that. She was destined for the stage from a young age, working in the world of musical theatre, literally travelling the world as a dancer and singer, as Miss Jinx. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yes, we've got lots to talk about, but I love that she found her calling as a presenter, working in TV, radio, and podcasting. She's also a superstar mum, a boss babe, and my friend. Welcome, Shanie Ryan.
What an intro. Thank you for having me, Remel London.
Of course, love, and welcome to the mainstream.
Thank you, my love. I'm so happy to be here.
Honestly, I have to say, first of all, you have supported me with the mainstream from day dot, so that means the world to me. 100%. And the fact that I actually get to interview you on the podcast is even better. So,
honestly, my head got this much bigger when you asked me to be here. I was like, what? I made it?
No, you have already made it, so that's why we're going to talk about it. All right?
Thank you.
So the reason I have to go deep is because a lot of people only know you as being a presenter, but there's so much more to that, and I feel like I think that's part of how we even cross paths, like being at radio together, being at events together, and all those kind of things. So we need to really talk about where it all came from. So you are always the life and soul of the party.
Thanks,
I've got to
Remel.
say that.
I try.
That's one thing. When there's an event happening, it's like, is Shanie going?
Show up, turn up, give it 100%.
We go in, man.
Especially if you're there to support someone. Like, if you're there at someone's thing and they've had the generosity to invite you, like, I always want to come, bring good energy, like, be shouting about it. I'm a big believer in, like, putting good energy out there and supporting people, because you never know when it might come back to you as well. So it's always a bonus.
See what I mean? So one thing about you, I want to know, was you like this as a child, or has this developed over time? Who was baby Shanie?
Baby Shanie, I was a lot as a child, and I now get it because I'm a mum, and River is a mini version of me when it comes to, like, energy and needing entertainment and attention. So my mum laughs every time he does something that I'm like, oh my gosh, and she's like, see, I've been there, done it, that type of thing. As a kid, I had bounds of energy, and even as young as like 2, my mum would wake up and I would not even be ready to sit down and have breakfast. It would be like, we put this thing called Lizzie and Joggy Bear on the TV.
Okay.
It was like breakfast TV, but they had this little section. It was Lizzie and Joggy Bear, and it was almost like a workout. And I would be tiny and I'd be copying this workout on the TV, and my mum would be like, great, that's like 5 minutes of energy burnt to start the day. Like, she'd always be trying to wear me out. And then, you know, it was dancing, and then it was horse riding, and my mum was a single parent, so she kind of made me choose at some point, like, is it dancing you love or horse riding you love? But if there was an activity, I was there. However, I'm horrible at sport.
Really?
Yeah, like, horrible. Like,
I wouldn't have thought that.
No, I run and I feel like I'm running really fast, but I'm actually not moving. It's like I'm so
as long
slow.
as you know that.
Yeah, and like trying to hit a ball, it's like catching in the dark type thing. Like, honestly, I'm really unsporty, but when it comes to dancing stuff, I've obviously got good coordination, and like I'm very, very coordinated. So it's a weird one, but lots of energy as a kid, and I think it was hard work
for figuring that all out. Because I genuinely thought you was like star athlete kind of thing, but I guess
so slow.
In a sense, you use that through dance, which is amazing, because you went on to do so much of that. But I did notice that you studied dance, singing, and acting at the Lane Theatre Art School.
Yeah.
So back then, what was it like being in that kind of environment? And did you aspire to have that as your dream job, like one of those threes?
All I knew is that dancing made me feel something. Like, it made me feel alive. I enjoyed the way that my body moved. And I'm a very overactive person in my mind. And I feel like whenever I'm dancing, and now for me it's hot yoga, it has the same effect. Like, it just like brings me very present into the moment. It centers me. I don't dance anymore. My sister keeps trying to tell me, like, come do a class, and I'm like, I'm sure I will break something.
I've noticed your sister dances quite a bit as well, right?
Like, she used to be a professional dancer as well, and like whenever she just wants to like feel something, she goes back and does a class. She did a heels class the other day, and she was like, come. I was like, can I do it in flats? Because
no,
girl is nearly 40. I don't want to break something.
No, but, well, you look good, and you don't look like you're gonna break anything, so you're good.
Thank you. But yeah, it just made me feel very present. And I just love that feeling of movement and like expressing myself through movement, creativity. I was never much of a choreographer.
Okay.
But I definitely made the moves that were given to me my own. Now, being in lanes, that was an interesting one.
Okay.
I joined when I was quite young. That was when mum was like, horse riding or dancing? Because I'm going to send you to this really good school, but I can't afford to do both. So you need to choose. So I went to lanes. They very quickly were like, you know, blowing smoke up to my mum, like, oh, she's really talented. We really want her on the agency. We think we can get her work. My mum was like, oh, I'm not sure about my child working.
What age was that?
I was probably maybe 8 when I joined the agency. And by 11, I was in my first West End musical. And my mum was like, oh, yeah, okay, we'll do it. But, you know, I want to be in control of it.
Yeah.
And then I sadly was going to have to leave the dance school. My mum basically couldn't afford it anymore. She was like, I can't afford it. Like, things are too tough. You know, I really believe in your talent, but we're going to have to either cut it completely down to like 1 class a week or stop it altogether. And Betty Lane, who has since passed away, but she's obviously the owner of Lane Theatre Arts, she called my mum and said, I can't let her stop. Like, she's a big talent and we really want to support her. And this is when my mum, I think, knew I had something in the dance world, because I was the first ever child, like under 16, that they'd ever gifted tuition to, like I'd ever had a scholarship in the whole history. And I think now it's a thing, but I was the first child that they actually created that scholarship for. So I was able to stay, and all of my education was gifted up until 16, which was amazing.
That's so lovely.
It was. And I think my mum felt like, oh, everything she'd sacrificed had like really started to pay off. And I was, you know, working. I was in a TV show called The Biz for the BBC and did a few different things. And then I got to 16 and I auditioned for the upper school, because you still had to audition to get scholarships and stuff for the upper school. And they offered me a scholarship, and my mum opened the letter and was like, you got in, like, I'm not surprised. And I was like, I don't want to go.
Oh.
And my mum was like, what? And she was like, why? I went, because mum, I was sat in the changing rooms the other day, and there was 2 girls in there in absolute floods of tears, saying that they'd been cut from the graduation show number because, quote unquote, they would need a crane to lift them in. And it was my first experience of like how negative that industry could be and how badly it could affect someone. At this point, I'm 16. You know, I'm tiny now, but I've not always been tiny. And I had thighs and bum, and I'm mixed race, so like the Jamaican was really coming out in my shape, and everyone in lanes was like size 6, 5'7", blonde, white, and I could already at 16 years old see that I was going to have a problem with my weight, and that I was not going to be accepted, and I would probably be those girls crying in the toilet going, you know, as much as I'd had a great experience as a child, I was very tiny as a child, but I thought puberty had hit me, and as much as they still wanted me to stay, I thought the next thing is lose weight. And I just said to my mum, like, I'm so sorry, but I just don't want to go here. So I ended up going to London studios instead.
Wow.
Which was no different.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's different now. I know that it's different now, because I've had a really great conversation with the Nick Espinosa, who runs that studio centre. But, you know, the teachers back when I went, brutal.
Oh my gosh. And that's the thing that terrifies a lot of parents about putting their children into this environment, the industry, because there are horror stories where people have become bulimic or had, like, you know, all kinds of different.
Oh yeah, it was rife. I was surrounded by it all the time. You know, when I remember being told, fat girls don't get jobs. You need to lose weight. And actually, just for the record, fat girls did get jobs, because me and the other girl that was sat in the office being told that, we probably worked commercially more than anyone else in our graduation year.
But
like, not in the musical theatre route, no, maybe we weren't suitable for that, but like as commercial dancers, like we did really well.
But, okay, as far as I know, I've known you, you've never been fat, so that's what I'm like.
Don't Google it. It's out there.
Okay, I can only imagine you as a little more voluptuous than now.
I've always struggled with my weight, and where I'm so small, I'm only 5'2". People think I'm really tall until they meet me, and then they're like, "You look really tall on Instagram." No. Well, I'm only 5'2", and if I gain weight, you can really see it, and if I lose weight, you can equally really see it. Fair. So I feel like I'm healthy now. I eat really well. I'm vegetarian. I train 3 times a week, and I do hot yoga, and I'm in like a really good health space. But that was traumatic, going through college, dealing with body image issues.
I can imagine. I definitely can imagine. And well done for overcoming it, because there's loads of people that haven't.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But I think it's beautiful that at such a young age, I mean, as much as 16 isn't young, it is. And for you to be self-aware that I don't want to put myself in that position as other women, that is really commendable.
And also, like, it was scary because I was thinking, oh my God, my poor mum, like, she's worked so hard and driven me to 4 classes a week after school and all of this stuff, and I'm turning down a scholarship, like, you know. And actually, when I got into London Studios, I didn't get a scholarship for the first year. Damn. So my mum had to borrow 12 grand off my aunt and uncle to put me in the first year, and she went, you better earn a scholarship for year 2 because you can't stay, you know. And I did. I got the Wayne Sleep scholarship for years 2 and 3, so that was fine.
She said, you got to pay your way.
She did. She said to me straight up, there is no more money. You got to earn it. So I worked really hard.
Well done. Well done. Well, you mentioned you was in the West End from as young as 11. That's crazy. So what was actually life as a theatre kid like? It's
actually still to this day some of my happiest memories. Like,
really?
I remember the day of the first show, like, all the kids would go for lunch somewhere before the show, and we did all of that. And I just remember being, I've got a terrible memory, by the way, like,
Same.
Awful memory. But this is very clear. Being kind of, it was Oliver at the London Palladium, so we kind of stepped down the steps doing, is it worth the waiting for? And we're stepping down the steps. But before we got there was like 6 of us kids, and we were all like waiting in our line. Yeah. And we'd like developed this little secret handshake that we would do before the show, and it was like our good luck thing. And I remember us really clearly doing it and just having like the most incredible show, and it's still like one of my favorite memories. Like, if I could go back in time and live that moment again, I totally would.
That's so cute. I really envied kids that had like I loved musicals growing up, so I always wanted to do it, but it was actually the financial side of it where I couldn't do it because it just wasn't available for my single parent household or even my area. I felt like the opportunities weren't always there, but I think it's so amazing that as a young person you get to have those little bonding moments and like you know, having a little community of creatives from that age. You're
never gonna like lose those bonds with people. Like if I saw any one of those kids, those cast members again, like it's always like, oh my God, like, 'cause we just experienced something so magical together as children. And I'll never forget that. It's such a cool experience to have.
Amazing. That's so cute.
I want to go and see Matilda because I hear the kids in that are amazing.
Heard that's really good as well.
I'm going to take River, I think, when he's older.
Definitely. Well, obviously you went from the London stage to the world stage, baby.
Oh, right.
A little later on, you became a professional dancer, working with particularly Kelly Rowland. That name stood out to me because she's like, you know, Destiny's Child icon, does her thing as a solo artist as well. So what are your favourite memories of that time?
So I worked with a lot of cool people. The most bizarre moment was working with Wiley. I love him.
Okay, please give us the details. So we need the tea.
So I got booked for a video shoot with Wiley, and it's the Take That video.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah. And they booked me and this other dancer, Yasmin, for this really zany shoot. And then we got there on the day and we were like, where's Wiley? Like,
you're lying.
Classic Where's Wiley moment. It's not Where's Wally, guys, it's Where's Wiley. Classic Where's Wiley moment. And they were like, right, girls, like, he's not answering the phone. We're not sure he's even coming. So we're basically shooting this entire music video around you two now. So the whole thing had to pivot, and we had all of this choreography, but then we ended up doing all of this like freestyling stuff. And they ended up saying like, the video is you. He's not here. We've got to make it. So the whole video is you. And this guy rocks up like 10 minutes to the end of the shoot and is like, let's do this.
We've done it.
We're finished. So we had to like shoot this one frame, and he literally did like 2 takes of it, and we were like done. And the video turned out really, really cool. So that was a cool memory of a Where's Wiley moment.
Typical.
A really cool memory is when I think it was Chip. It was Chip. Chip he was very early on in his career. Okay. He had like a opportunity to do I think it was like the very first or second one in of Wireless Festival.
Oh wow!
And his manager at the time, Bath, I'd kind of like met out and about.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I need 2 dancers to choreograph and like support him on stage.
Yeah.
And it was the time where it was like, oh, we haven't got any budget or whatever. But I was like, this festival sounds sick. Like, and we got backstage pass and everything. I was like, I'll do it for a laugh. I pulled my friend Damien with me because she was up for a good laugh as well. And we ended up like choreographing this whole thing and like having this amazing experience. Like everyone like screaming and shouting and like whooping and singing back the words and rapping along with him, and it was just like a really cool moment to be a part of somebody's like beginning of their journey.
Definitely.
So that's cool, and that stands out. Kelly was just incredible to work with. Like her team are so professional.
I can imagine.
And we've traveled the world. We've been to like Australia for 3 days. Yeah.
Oh,
that was crazy.
That sounds tiring.
It was awful. And because our tickets were booked last minute, we were like, you know, when you're at the back of the plane and you're like literally backed against the toilet so your seat doesn't go back. It was like 15 hours upright. What? Like, honestly, like we had to just get on this last minute flight and it was just the worst seats on the whole plane.
Oh my God.
Got there, obviously had complete jet lag, ended up doing like a nighttime rehearsal because none of us could sleep. And but yeah, we had some cool, wholesome moments with her on that trip as well.
That's so
performed
cool.
in Paris and Casablanca and the Bahamas and Australia and
how old
so
was you
many
around
places.
those times?
Early 20s.
Oh, for a 20-something,
Yeah, like
epic.
21, 22.
That's a good
23.
time.
Yeah, 22, 23 I think is accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good.
So how did you go from, you know, theatre stage to, you know, the commercial entertainment world? How was that transition?
Yeah. So theatre was very much when I was younger. So
Right.
like child West End. As I got older, I became way more interested in commercial dance and just caught this like little vibe that made me feel good. But I always loved to sing. But yeah, I just kind of figured in my brain, like I had this bit of a journey in my brain planned. It was like, okay, so whilst I'm young and like able-bodied, I'm going to focus on the dancing.
Right.
And then having been in West End when I was younger, like our cast members were all ages, right? They were like 50s and playing roles, like singing and dancing. And like, you know, even back then, like we had Robert Lindsay as Fagin.
Wow.
He was like a lot older than me. And I thought, okay, I could do this at any age. Like I don't have to be in my 20s to be in a West End musical. I could do it in my 60s if I want to. There's people in their 60s in the cast. So I kind of put it aside thinking logically, like let me get the most out of dancing whilst I'm young and fit and into it. And then I'll sing and maybe do some West End. And then eventually I want to be a presenter. And I can do that at some point as well.
So did you always have that on the cards?
In my brain it was obviously West End as a child, then it was I was going to be a dancer and I was going to travel the world, and then I was like I'm going to find some sort of opportunity to sing, and then when I feel like I've done enough performing I'm going to present because that looks really cool.
I'm smiling because Shanie is such a planner.
I know, it's actually really boring. I'm like the least spontaneous person on the planet, and Tony hates me for it. He's like, can you just be spontaneous? Not everything has to have a spreadsheet.
Literally, I can see the spreadsheet. Like your life literally is planned to a T.
I'm a geek, honestly.
But well done, because, you know, people dream of doing these things and you do them and have done them.
Yeah, I think with dancing, like I started to pick up a few injuries.
Okay.
And just feel like I was always a bit achy and sore. And I had a couple of injuries that I did the Ministry of Sound workout video. Now that schedule was grueling. Oh, gosh. And I tore my hamstring really badly and it took so long to recover.
During dance?
During the last rehearsal the day before the shoot.
Oh my god!
And they sent me to Harley Street to have some like injections and treatment or whatever so I could get through the 2-day 12-hour shoot. And I got through it, and then like even now I've still got a big lump of scar tissue at the back of my hamstring where it never fully healed. Wow. So I just started to pick up injuries, and I was like, do you know what? Like I feel like I still want to be able to like crawl around on the floor and have kids and stuff. Like,
yeah.
And then I did the Kelly Rowland job, and then I did the Fight for This Love campaign for Cheryl.
Yeah.
For Cheryl Cole. Cheryl now, right?
I don't think she's been Cole for a long time now.
Yeah, no, she was Cheryl Cole at the time.
Okay, she was Cheryl Cole at the time.
She was Cheryl Cole at the time, which is why I still think of her as Cheryl Cole.
Fair.
Yeah, I did that. And then I was like, do you know what? Like, I feel like I'd always said that my dream was to be a backing dancer for Beyonce. That was my dream. And then I got Kelly, and that was awesome. And then from working with Kelly, I got a backing dancer gig for this girl called Nikki Jane, who was an American artist. Okay. And she was opening up for Beyonce on the I Am Sasha Fierce tour. So I got to open for Beyonce at the O2
I hear you.
for 5 nights in a row, and I thought, that's close enough.
Yeah.
I'll take
Tick
it.
that off.
Yeah. And I got to work for Prince, which was incredible. So I ticked some boxes. So I was like, I feel like it's good to leave something on a high.
Yeah,
And I feel
yeah.
ready. And I don't want to leave on like a naff job. So let me leave on an awesome job and be like, okay, I've retired. On to the next.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. Bucket list. Nailed it. I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
Again, I'm realizing every time I talk to people that I'm actually close to, but also still don't know that much about the career part, because you know we kiki about the industry and life and what we're doing now, but
we have great chats about the now, don't we?
Yeah,
what
all
we're
the
doing
past
now.
stuff. There's so much, like, it's so interesting to see how you've overcome so much stuff, which is amazing. But my favorite deep dive was Duchess.
Oh God, Remel. I thought, yeah, you're stitching me up. This is stitch up, guys.
Now,
Go on.
Shanie was in an epic girl group called Duchess, who were really good. You lot were good.
We could sing.
You could sing. So this is around 2008 times.
Oh God, I don't even know.
Little throwback.
Okay.
But good times. That's when you often went by the name of Miss Jinx.
Yeah, well, that started because I think Tony had originally started it, and then
Oh,
my
really?
brother picked up on it. Basically, I'm super clumsy.
I've noticed, yeah.
Yeah, like you've seen it. It's like, I don't understand how I could have been a dancer because I'm so clumsy. But I'm super clumsy, and everyone started to say, bloody hell, like, you're jinxed. Like, what, you know, it's always breaking things and you can't be trusted around.
It's not the nicest name, actually.
I know, so they were like, Jinxie, Miss Jinxie. And then it became my, like, when I joined social media, it became my social media handle.
I
which
remember that.
Changed quite a long time ago.
Literally remember that. But no, the girl group was amazing, and it was, again, part of the plan, clearly. How did you make that part of the plan? Because going from professional dancer to singer, is it common?
The universe is good, and it's all about timing and right place, that one. Because I had stopped dancing, pretty much. Odd thing that I dipped into of choreographers that I liked working with.
Yeah.
And had started doing kind of like, just for a bit of money and a bit of like staying relevant in the circle.
Fair.
Started doing some like backing singing for Leona Lewis when she was doing like big performances at like things like Children in Need, or you know, if she was doing the X Factor, things like that. So I did that, and I got on really well with Leona. She's such an amazing spirit. Like, we're not friends anymore, you know, you grow apart from people. She lives in America now, but yeah, she basically, her boyfriend was an A&R at Sony, and he was putting together a girl group. And she had invited me to her birthday, and I'd been there and met her partner, and Leona was like, hey, like, you should put Shanie up for an audition for this girl group. Like, she's so cool, she'd be perfect, she's a good singer. So he was like, yeah, sure, I'll contact you next week. Contacted me, did a few auditions, ended up getting into the girl group, and that was it. And then it was like, I was kind of put in a situation like, you've got to give this 100%, so you really need to let go of dancing now. And it was kind of the little push that I needed to stop saying yes to those random little dance jobs that I was trying to move away from. So I kind of opened up my space. Wow. By the way, I've never been so broke as when I was in a girl group, though. Oh my gosh. Like, oh God.
Okay, let's talk about that, because you guys did do well. You was on Choice FM, you was on like BBC Radio 1 Extra. Like, I was actually watching a behind the scenes of your music video. I
don't think I've even seen that.
It's still up on SBTV.
Wow, SB.
Literally, good times. And
SB is a big part of our journey, you know.
Really?
So Jamal, okay, 7 minutes. So Jamal, I've not mentioned him, so he was so integral in us being like taken seriously by anyone. Wow. So he'd never put a girl group ever on SBTV. And his mum, Brenda, she kept saying to him, like, she only told me this recently, that she was like, your mum's a singer. I want to see more singers on your platform, like, support singers. And then he met us and was like, you girls can really sing. Will you come on my platform? And he'd started putting Ed on there, and it was all the same time. And he was like, girls, I want you to do a couple of bits on SBTV and see how it goes. And then we recorded it, it went out, and he called us and he was like, everyone's loving you. Like, this is amazing. Like, you girls are popping off. Everyone is like rating you. And And it literally like launched us into being in the room with like, although we were put together by Sony, we didn't have a deal with Sony. Like, it was really weird.
Oh,
they
wow.
put us together, but they didn't sign us. They were like, we're going to put you together, get you in with some producers, you know, put you in some, you know, some good rooms and whatever, and then see how it goes. It was really bizarre. Like, we worked with some incredible people, but didn't have a deal. And then Jamal put us on SB, and all of a sudden there was like label interest.
Of course.
So Jamal, as many people say, was like such a big part of our like journey. And then we ended up actually signing with Universal, which was really random because Sony didn't end up signing us, which was really bizarre.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, like put together by a label and then signed by a different label. Honestly, the journey was wild. So, but
Literally.
yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You were in a girl group. You did what you had to do, but unfortunately, you broke up. And you mentioned that you were broke.
Girl groups be girl groups.
What happened? Like, you know, you guys were doing well. I remember those days, and I remember hearing your music and all that kind of stuff. So what actually happened?
I think when you already have your own energy within an industry, and then other people come in and try to match it, sometimes there's a little bit of envy. So it felt like rather than taking it like I was pulling everything I had out the locker to help us move forward in our career, it felt like there was a element of everyone, Shanie again, you know, they want to talk to Shanie and not us, and it's like they're like, I'm working hard for the band here to connect with people, pull in the favours, do everything to make us more successful. And rather than getting on board and leaning into those conversations and joining in on those moments, it was like retreat, fall back, you know, like I was giving them the ick type thing, but forgetting all of the things that I helped create.
Features and tours is a big deal. So the fact that you
choreographer, makeup artist, they were all my connections. Styling, all my connections. So it was difficult to be going 100 miles an hour and getting quite a lot of meanness back. Not from Jamie. Jamie's just been my bridesmaid at my wedding. But and you know, me and one of the other girls, we're still really lovely, and like we get on, and I feel like we both had our opinions on that situation. And then the other one, we don't talk about Bruno. If you've got kids, you know that reference.
I ain't got kids, and I love that reference.
We don't talk about Bruno. But yeah, I was devastated when I put so much energy into it, and I'd like really put myself out there as trying to do something, and like a lot of people knew about it, and a lot of people had supported us, and I'd used all my favours, and I just felt really devastated that it ended because people weren't on the same page within the band. And yeah, you can only control what you do. Like I controlled my behaviour in that situation. I was professional, showed up on time, gave it 100%, didn't let anything get in the way of what we needed to do, pulled in every favour. Jamie the same. You can't control what other people do, and unfortunately when your fate is tied to other people, sometimes it doesn't go the way you need it to go.
Oof. Tell them again. That was good.
Thanks, Remel.
Well, do you know what?
Not everyday clown. I know you know that side of me, but not every day.
Hey, we're just, everyone's getting to meet you now. I love that. No, but that's the thing about you. Everything you're saying is a testament to who you are. You always put 150% in, and you're not afraid to shoot your shot, which I think is such an impressive kind of like skill that a lot of people are terrified to do. And you particularly showed this when you entered and won the competition to be the face of MTV Rap.
Oh, yeah.
Not you forgetting what happened.
I forgot about that.
Yes, you were shooting your shot.
Yeah, I really did.
And you won. So what made you want to do that?
So actually, funny story, Duchess ended and I was like very, very down. Like very down. Didn't really know what I was going to do next. I felt really embarrassed. I felt like a failure. I was kind of regretting leaving dancing even. Like, why did I was doing so well. I was at the top. Like, why did I do that? Had a lot of doubts around the place I was at. And then I met up with Austin DeBoa, who was, you know, Austin.
Yeah.
So he, I think I just had a meeting with him about, he was in music at the time, and we were just talking, and just like, you know, when you're just trying to feel your way of advice from people that have got time for you, and he made time. And he said, oh, I know someone that is looking for a new presenter for MTV. I think you'd be great. And I was like, presenter? That was in my plan, boo. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm interested. And he was like, let me just like introduce you on an email and then it's over to you. Okay. So I was like, yeah, can I come in? I'd love to meet you. And they were like, what's your presenting experience? I was like, none, but I was definitely like the mouthpiece of my group.
Yeah.
And, you know, in all the interviews, I would do all the talking and blah, blah, blah. But I'd love to have a go. I ended up having like a really great first interview. Then it was a screen test. And then like the following week I was doing like backstage interviews at Wireless.
Damn.
And again, those people that I'd worked with as a dancer or had helped out, they're all there performing. So I was getting great interviews and people were making time to speak to me. And that kind of like played through into the presenting thing. And, you know, I kind of went down that kind of commercial MTV route. And that was a really fun time, but also the start of the frustration of being a presenter in this industry.
Girl, we know that too well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an impressive start in presenting.
Yeah, I couldn't believe my luck.
In all honesty, that is an amazing opportunity to start. The goal for a lot of people is MTV.
Yeah,
So
like I said, I think
amazing.
it was just timing. And also, like, I'm quite a spiritual person. And I always try to remember in everything that I do, like, what's meant for me won't go by me. Everything I need will come to me with ease. And as long as I have, like, clear visions on what it is that I am trying to achieve, the universe will decide when the timing is right.
Yeah.
And that's not just in career. Like, I believe that in everything, like in my personal life as well, the timing of my wedding, the timing of having my son.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like all of that was very much like not in my hands.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
But first of all, I think it's, again, really impressive that you were unafraid to try something new. And like you said, it was really hard not being able to achieve what you wanted with Duchess, but you had the courage, I think it's actually important to say, the courage to step out again and do presenting. But was you ever worried that people were going to wonder, that girl from Duchess, she's trying to present?
100%. Especially because the weird part was, so like, do you remember Stushy?
Yeah.
So awesome girls.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of shows like side by side with them.
Right.
Like, they were the first people I had to interview at Wireless.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, like, it was only a few weeks ago, us lot were like doing shows side by side, and they're going to be thinking, I mean, I think if I'm being really open and honest, I think that's one of the things that I still struggle with, is like the not caring what people think thing.
Of course.
I think about this quite a lot in where I'm at now in life. And I definitely think it affects everyone in some capacity, worrying about, you know, what you've done, where you're at now, if it doesn't feel as good, or people are judging you because, you know, oh, I thought you lot were about to blow and then it didn't happen, and all that kind of thing. I definitely had a lot of, oh, I've got something to prove, like, you know, and I think, if I'm being really honest, I still feel like that.
We all do. We're always, the industry is competitive, so we always feel like we have to one up something, whatever it is. So
and I
totally
try
get
not to
that.
compare myself to other people, because you know, there's quite a few key moments where I could look at and go, if only like that person had stayed in their job, then I would have done that for longer, and then that could have been my trajectory. But somebody else come in and took that important job, and they hired someone else to do something, and now that person is, woo, you see them everywhere. Like, I've got moments like that where I definitely have thought to myself, oh God, like, it could have been so different even now, but like, that wasn't my journey, that wasn't my story, that wasn't my lane. And you just, I think when things do pass you by, you have to remember, if they were meant for you, they wouldn't have.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree. That's well done. Listen, I'm learning so much from you at the same time as like talking to you. I'm just like, damn, let me write this down.
You know, I'm always at the end of a phone for you, Remel. I can always give you the chat.
Yes, we're here for a little wife catch up, but
we're going to tell everyone about that.
We'll talk about that later. But well, you definitely proved yourself as an incredible presenter, and you went on to work with, of course, the heavyweight that is MTV, doing the Wireless, like you mentioned, GRM Daily News. I remember you gave us the news. That was
so funny. Do you know,
good times.
Do you know what was funny? I was out. I can't even remember where I was, and Giggs come up to me and he's like, yo, He's like, you're the girl from GRM News. And I was like, yeah. He was like, I think you're sick, man. Like, I watch you every week. You're so funny. I was like, oh my God, gigs.
I love that.
And Tony was with me, and Tony was like, that was kind of sick.
No, your husband being like, okay, cool. Gigs, he can pass. We like gigs. We like gigs.
He was like, that was kind of sick.
I mean,
like, he's proud of me.
You were such a big part of, and still are a big part of, like, you know, the culture that we've all grown up, whether it's like music and like seeing the UK success stories and you know, you've gone on to do so much more. Being at Capital XTRA, we was both there together, which was good times. You're the beauty expert and presenter on QVC. Come on, Queen. Always.
Well, that's a weird one. Like that kind of happened by accident. So basically, my mum, who is a sensible Susan sometimes, she basically said to me, listen, you need something to fall back on because your industry is so wild that you're going into, and I believe you, and I believe in you. Like, you're going to be amazing. But I would like to think that if ever times got tough, that you had something else you could do. So she made me go and sign up to do this like beauty therapy course to do like, to like study something else, because I'd always like been into beauty and makeup, and like even as a young kid, like it's something I cared about. So I started off doing nails and things like that, and I just did all of my training. And then fast forward, I met this random lady at an event, and she was like, oh, are you an expert in anything? And I was like, well, I'm a qualified beauty therapist, and we'll get into that separately, but I had a successful company that had a team of beauty therapists that used to go out and do mobile beauty. It was like a side hustle. So I was like, you know, I know pretty much most things about beauty. She was like, great, because you do TV and you do beauty. And she's like, and I cast for QVC, and I think you'd be a great beauty expert on there. So I auditioned and got the job, and then started working with the brand. So
this is what I'm talking about. You were always able to create amazing...
By the way, thanks, Mom.
You're always able to make great opportunities for yourself with your skills and your talents. So, you know, as a presenter, we all need a reel. We all need, you know, content. How have you kind of gone about creating opportunities for show reel content and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, so, I mean, for example, when we were at Capital XTRA, there's no one like filming anything you're doing unless you're doing breakfast and your live interviews are being filmed for YouTube and online, right?
Yeah.
So I used to just take my camera setup into the studio.
No way.
And set it up on a tripod and film my show so that I had snippets to put into my show reel.
Look at that.
And bearing in mind, this was like 2:00 in the morning, so the effort was real.
Like, oh my God, did you like do full makeup and stuff as well?
Yes.
Oh wow, well done.
I did full makeup, made myself look like, you know what, we go into the studio like Remel. Like looking like we just fell out of bed sometimes.
Basically wearing my pajamas most
I used to make like effort, go in, set up my tripod, film my show.
Wow.
And before that I was on Select Radio.
Oh.
And before that I was on Rinse.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my gosh.
So like I did like the free radio, get your air miles up, no money, getting up at 5:00 in the morning to go and do my show and make sure I had something for a show reel to get onto Capital XTRA. Because I got Capital XTRA myself. I literally did Rinse, recorded loads of my shows, did Select, completely different vibe, recorded all of those shows, and then I got somebody to edit together a voice reel for me.
Amazing.
And then I sent it to Manny and I sent it to Javan, who was a producer, and both of them liked it, so they both then sent it to the station manager around the same time, and then he contacted me and was like, I've just got your reel from 2 people, it's really good, will you come in?
Wow.
Yeah. And then they made me test for like months, of course, like 6 months, and then one day they were like, no one can work, will you come in and cover a show? And I was like, yes. And they were like, it's 2:00 in the morning. I was like, I don't care. And they were like, it's a 6-hour shift. I was like, great.
Wow.
I'll do it.
See? Yeah. You really put yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of stayed on that shift for a long time though.
But you know what?
But, you know.
This is what people don't realise, how much goes into not only the show, but getting the show.
Oh,
like,
God,
you know, the show reel is so important, and like getting clips from experience from other stations. Like, you can't just rock up and be like, yeah, I'm a presenter, let's go. Like, you have to put in the air miles, like you said. Definitely.
And then when it came to the TV stuff and the show reel, so for example, I like downloaded some software that I could screen record all of my, because it was back then, like, it wasn't just easy. Yeah. And you had to do it in a certain way to get like a really good high quality content, because QVC would never give you your shows. Oh. So I had to like play them. Innit? Yeah, I had to play them back. And then record them and then edit them down and then put them into the reel. So like there's lots of like little things that you'd think were just like handed to me for my reel, but they weren't. They were like, I've either taken my own camera, like I got hired to host Air Max Day for Nike.
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
yeah, like I basically roped in Tony and got him to bring my camera, and bless him, like he videoed the whole day so that I had snippets for my reel. Like there's just loads of opportunities where I was working where I probably wouldn't have got content, but I've like made sure that I got content for my reel.
That's
and I've literally just rebranded the other day as well and launched my new website and stuff. So
I did see it's very impressive.
So we just started that whole process again. It's not like that's never ending. That's what people don't realize. Like anytime you I'm gonna call it progress and grow into a new phase of your career, then you have to start from the beginning. Like you have to start your reel from scratch, or like cut loads of it and go out and make new content. Like I hired a videographer, a location house and everything to film a bunch of property content, because although I've developed loads of properties and stuff, I've not got anything on camera. So I had to like go and create all of that to go into a reel to take things where I want them to go next.
Look at you, content queen.
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't say that. But
you're doing it though, literally. Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
You really do have to. And a really important point that you mentioned.
I realise I look like I'm just like laying down on the sofa.
No, girl, this is the mainstream. We get cozy.
Real comfy.
We cozy in the industry. You mentioned not having representation when you got Capital Extra. That is huge. That's a major key. That is something that a lot of people query. Do you need an agent to make it in the mainstream? Do you need an agent to progress?
I have rarely had an agent.
Wow.
My entire career has been guided by myself. I had an agent for a year when I got MTV. They got me not one single job, and were taking commission off of every job I got myself.
Excuse
so we parted way, But this was when I was like starting out and presenting, so I didn't really know any better. Jeez. It was like one of those ones like we take 10% of everything or 15% or whatever it was of everything. Across the board, what we bring you, what you bring yourself. And then it got to the end of the year, and I was like, sorry, like I haven't had a single check from you. I've just been paying you money, and parted ways. And there's a few other big presenters that had the same situation with that agency. That put me off, and I was like, do you know what, like I'm just going to do this myself. Did that for a very, very long time, and then I got another agent a few years ago, pre-COVID, where actually, credit where credit's due, introduced me to some great TV people. But didn't necessarily vibe on the fact that they again wanted to take money from my existing money before making me good money. My thing is, if I've already got existing clients, QVC, Capital XTRA at the time, all of these different things that I've got for myself, you need to be bringing me something new before I'm sharing my existing. And again, like I'm flexible, but I also like have very strong boundaries when it comes to things like this. So I held my boundaries. They didn't like it, so we parted ways, and I've had no agent ever since. However, I have met in the last year somebody that I think is a really amazing person who I've got to know, who's great in the industry, and I feel like she's just as hungry as I am in her own career. And she's also got great contacts, and she's done some amazing things. So we're dating. We're dating, cute. And we're getting on really well, and I feel like she's potentially the one I've been looking for when it comes to agents. But I always said I wanted like a really strong female agent who was gonna, like care about me and my family, and like care about what I want to do, and we're gonna have a good relationship. Because I feel like if you find the right agent, like I'll give Yinka and Courtney as an example, or Maya and Izzy. Like, if you've got an agent that you really vibe with, that could be the person that you stay with for your entire career. It's 100%. Like an important relationship. So I'm not going to be marrying anyone until I'm sure. But yeah, the person I'm speaking about is pretty cool. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad that you have the boundaries, like you said. Don't let the industry do that to you. Yeah,
you've got to just like know what you're comfortable with, and if something feels uncomfortable, like question it, have further conversations. Don't dive in because you're afraid to lose something. Like, take it from me, I've not had an agent for most of my career, and yes, that's made it more difficult. And no, I don't get some of the like some of the jobs that you get for your agent, like voiceover jobs and great corporate jobs and stuff. I don't get any of that because I don't have an agent. That makes it tougher for me, which is why I have other things that I do in terms of you know, financially, and other investments that I've made, because I don't have those jobs that, you know, your bread and butter jobs, those good
Definitely.
ones, you know, that go between the ones that everyone swoons over on Instagram, you know. So, but it's an individual decision, but for me so far it hasn't worked, but it doesn't mean it's not going to.
Amazing. That's a good way to put it. And I think it's really important that you've learned how to manage your money and your finances. But do you remember when you first got in presenting, and was you ever trying to figure out how much should I be charging? Because no one ever talks about this.
Yeah, in presenting and also in social media work as well.
Oh, good point.
That's the hardest one. That's like a wow.
So how do you find out how much you should be charging and booking? Are there industry rates, or what's the catch?
So what with presenting?
I guess school us, girl.
Okay, so with presenting, that was always like a minefield because I didn't have a helpful agent at any point.
Yeah.
I literally just looked at every single situation, how much time it was going to cost me, and like where do I feel comfortable? And then go a little bit above that because everyone always wants to hustle you down. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then it's when you have conversations, like I'm one of those people, I love to talk about money.
What?
I love to talk about money.
Everyone's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That is taboo.
I don't get why it's so awkward. Like at the end of the day, if more creatives spoke about money, more people would know where they're being bumped.
Facts.
Where they could make more money, where they could charge more. I mean, didn't I ask you about something? I'm not going to name the job.
Recently. Yeah.
But recently I asked you, I said, I've been approached about this job.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking how much money you charge them?
Yeah.
You told me you were charging double what I charged the year before. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go up a little bit.
Yeah. I told you to go. I remember I said, girl, go up.
Well, I said I'm not going up because you did like a lot more on that job than I did.
But still go up.
But yeah, up a little bit.
Yeah.
But like
for your worth.
Yeah, but
it's not always the time. It's actually your worth.
That's true.
It's actually your worth more than anything. Everyone listening, this is for your worth.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, you're schooling me now for sure. But like I felt no way to pick up the phone and say, Remel, how much money did you make on that job?
True.
And I think that conversation is really important. Like people are so funny to talk about money. Like if our industry, like peers, especially if you know like you've had roughly the same sort of journey.
Yeah.
Like and you've got a friend that's got an agent and you don't have an agent, so your friend's got their agent guiding them on pricing. Like call that friend and be like, listen, I don't have an agent. I don't know what I should charge for this type of work.
Yeah.
Like what does your agent get you?
It's true.
Like
it's so true.
Speak about it.
Take
people,
off that little commission fee and then just tell me what was the rate.
Yeah,
it's
what
true.
did you get paid
Yeah,
for that job? Because I've been approached for something that feels similar and I don't know where to start and I don't want to undercut myself. It's the same with social media. When I got into social media, I've got one friend in particular, Maddie, and she's been so helpful in like guiding me about what I should have been charging in the early phases.
Amazing.
And, you know, but I think people are often shocked when you ask, but it shouldn't be a shocking thing to talk about money. Like you think these big businesses, they're hiring people to talk about money. They're hiring people to come in and advise on what they should be paying their influencers and what the packages should look like and what the commission structure should look like. I literally got asked about a job yesterday where they're like affiliate, and I said, don't do affiliate. And they were like, oh, no, we weren't just talking about affiliate.
Paid.
They're like, no, I was like, oh, good. Like now we're having a conversation, because unless you hold your boundaries on what it is that you are willing to work for, like there's been plenty of jobs that I would love to do, but that I knew they were taking the beep.
Yeah.
So I was like,
this ain't gonna work.
it's not gonna work, because you clearly don't respect me if you're not willing to have this conversation about these types of numbers.
Exactly.
So maybe I'm just not the right person for you, and that's okay.
Oh, tell them, know your worth. It's true.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you have been able to expand, like you mentioned, the social media work. That's such a good avenue for revenue. You have been excelling in it very well. Like you get this girl is the queen of like giftings, and but also you also get paid to do a lot of the influencing that you do. Are you an influencer? Is that fair? No one likes that word.
So I've never felt that I would be being authentic by calling myself an influencer.
Oh,
because it happened as a byproduct of the following that I got being a presenter.
Fair.
So I would say that, and I don't
okay.
feel like I've made a lot of growth in being an influencer, I just feel like my core audience, like sticks with me, believes in me, and like listens to what I say.
Yeah.
To a degree, not everything I say clearly, but I would say I still call myself a presenter, although I struggle with that sometimes if it's a quiet period of time and I'm like, how am I a presenter? I've not presented anything in a while. Those kind of moments kill you.
Still a presenter.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I would dabble in content creation.
That's a good way to put it.
If the fee's right.
See? She's like, I'm an influencer today because I got paid.
And also, like, I don't, like, Tony will tell you, he sometimes has to really put a foot up my bum and be like, babe, you need to, like, you haven't posted anything in a while.
Really?
Yeah, he's really supportive.
No
like,
way. Because he seems so, like, this is her husband we're talking about. He's so reserved.
He's so reserved.
He's not really a social media person, even though he's jumped on it recently.
Yeah.
But, like, oh, okay. So he actually encourages you to post.
Yeah, he'll be like, babe, you haven't posted in ages. Like, come on, like, you know.
We need to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Is that rent is due?
He'll be like, we need to get some. No, more than anything, I think it's he knows that sometimes I've got so many different things going on, it gets forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think he's great at knowing that I will be annoyed with myself when I clock that it's been a minute and I should have been kind of investing some time into that. Because let's face it, like, a lot of the work that you get, it's like they want to know how many followers you've got, or
true.
you know
what's your engagement,
yeah,
your
how pretty
reach.
does your feed look, like all of that kind of thing. It all plays into the image of you in your professional career.
True.
So I think he sometimes just that gives me a little nudge to remind me, like, it's important, stay on it, like. And he's the best at taking photos. He he never rolls his eyes, but he definitely says time's up.
You've got your 20. Let's stop.
Yes.
Well, he sounds like he's a great content husband to have around.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, you may not be an influencer, but you have a popping podcast that is all about the influencers called Influence Me. So tell me about this. How did it come about? And what should we know about it?
So when I left Capital XTRA, I had this feeling of I hadn't got to be a personality for a long time. Because radio, what people forget about radio is, all right, some stations, they allow you to just be your wild self, like Remy Bergs, like you can't, that's Remy, like you know what I mean, you're getting Remy when you're listening to her. You doing all of your dance moves and everything and whatever,
I'm about to
like
dial them back, my knees.
Manny's like what you get on air. But I feel like unless you've been doing it for a really, really long time, what happened with me is I kind of came in really feeling myself in that space. Like I'd done my air miles, I'd done my groundwork. I felt like I knew Capital XTRA was like my dream place to work. But then when I got there, it felt like I needed to fit a mold that I didn't necessarily fit into. Because I was the newbie, and it was like trying to test me out for like where could I go within the station, and like trying to see where I could fit. And actually in my brain I couldn't understand it, because I was like, you've hired me because you like me and the tapes that I've created from stations where I have no like buddy telling me I can't do this and I can't do that. Like, you've got the raw version of me, and that's why you've brought me in. So why can I not then just do that? And it was a bit of an adjustment. And then by the time I come out of that, I kind of felt like, oh my God, like, just let me speak. Like, let me be free. I went into radio thinking I was going to get to like interview cool people and, you know, present live at Summertime Ball, even though I wasn't even on Capital. Like, I was doing, like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be doing all of these cool things. And then instead it was like, you know, kind of very restricted in what I was allowed to talk about and that kind of thing. And I found that quite difficult. So when it come to the that feeling, I literally woke up one morning and I wrote on a bit of paper, influence me. And it came to me in my sleep.
Wow.
And I left it beside my bed. And then Tony was like, what's this? And I was like, I think I'm going to do a podcast, and I think I'm going to call it Influence Me. He was like, okay, when are you doing that then? And I was like now, like, I'm going to start it now. And I literally just started like working on it. And and speaking to other podcasters and basically saying like, how do I get this thing sponsored? Because I'm not one to want to spend my time on something for it to cost me money. I've done my fair share of working for free. I think that's part and parcel of this industry. And I'm starting something that's new. It's a passion project. I don't mind putting a bit of money into it, but that's not going to be sustainable long term. So I ended up telling everyone that would listen that I was looking for a podcast sponsor, and everyone said to me, you are crazy, like you are never going to get a podcast sponsor for a podcast that hasn't even had a single episode yet. Gosh. Like that's not going to happen, like that's impossible, you've got no numbers, you've got no figures, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, what about if I get everyone on the podcast to like loads of people, loads of figures, like great social media reach, blah, blah, blah. Then I can trade off of the fact that everyone that's going to be on it has all of that already. So Influence Me became a combination of like an idea that I woke up with that I genuinely to this day don't know where it came from. And it was basically a podcast about getting to know the people behind the profile pic. Because I knew quite a lot of really cool people that were influencers, and I felt like their profiles didn't tell you anything about them. It all looked pretty and whatever. And it was before the time of now everyone's like big long captions and like wears their heart on their sleeve and like shares everything. But back then it was glossy profiles and a bit more like, you know, just putting your best foot forward and everyone looking pristine. You didn't really know much about particularly some of the big influencers. So I ended up just getting some really amazing guests on who had like millions of followers and hundreds and thousands of followers, and going to this company and saying, oh, the reach of my podcast is going to be this because I have these guests confirmed and they have this many followers on social media and they've all happily agreed to post and blah, blah, blah. And I ended up getting a sponsor for like $5,000 before I'd even recorded anything.
That's what I'm talking about.
I used the money for like production and like taking care of the guests and making sure they could like get to me, and I covered their expenses or whatever. And then I threw a big launch party, which obviously got like good press and stuff like that.
That was fun.
Yeah, and I got into season 2 and I had a sponsor lined up for season 2, a different sponsor. But her brand was a luxury brand, and this was like COVID hit, and she was really worried about her business. She was like, I'm a luxury brand, like, I'm not an essential. I'm really worried that, you know, my business is going to take a tumble through this time. Like, it's probably better we don't proceed. And I was like, I completely understand. So I got like halfway through season 2, and then I didn't have a sponsor anymore. And then like I was like you, I wanted to do it on the sofa in person for it to be this energy between two people. Didn't want to compromise on that. So I was like, I'm going to put it on hold. And then I decided I wanted to have a baby. So I was like, you know what? I suffer with the biggest FOMO of anyone you've ever met. Like, I am totally a FOMO person. And I was like, guess what? It's a great time. It's COVID. No one's doing anything. I'm not missing out on anything. My career doesn't really have to go on hold. Fair. Like, this feels like good timing. When all of this began, to be fair, like, I fell pregnant a little bit before we went into lockdown. But you know, it was on the horizon, and we'd kind of made our decision already. But the fact that COVID happened just made it a little bit easier to put everything on hold and just focus on having a really present pregnancy.
Well done. What beautiful.
But to be honest, I've not restarted it again, and that's because 2 reasons. Like, I felt like I should, but I didn't feel like I wanted to.
That is so important. Don't force it.
Don't force it. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And do you know what? I'm not saying I'm not going to restart it. Because people now still say to me, oh, like, when are you bringing it back? I loved it. You know, it was Radio Times top 20 podcast to listen to during COVID. It, like, did really, really well. It was up for awards and everything. Like, I couldn't believe how much it flew. But I come out the other side of COVID with just, like, very different set of goals. And I'm someone that doesn't stay still. I'm always moving. In fact, at my wedding, my bridesmaid, Lara, my maid of honour, she did a speech, and her running joke throughout the speech was, she's worked in pilot, like talking about my careers. She's worked in pilot. She's been a presenter for MTV. She owned a successful beauty company. And like, she listed everything, and I was like, oh my God, cringe. Like, it actually, for a couple of days, played on my mind. I was like, wait, how many different things have I actually done? Like, am I even a serious person at this point?
Oh my God.
But then I just realised, like, I'm not someone that stands still. Like, I like to keep moving. I like new challenges. I like new things. And also, how boring would it be if we all stayed in the same place for a really long time? Right.
Like, we got things to do. And that's what I love about you, because you are a boss, all-round boss. Like you said, you've had multiple companies and like streams of income. But finances are really important. Like you said, you don't mind talking about it, so let's talk about it, baby.
Yeah.
How have you been able to keep on track of your money in terms of the freelance life? Because it sounds like you've pretty much been freelance your whole life.
Yeah, I have.
And, you know,
I've been getting fired a few times when I was like younger.
Oh my gosh.
I always used to get fired, honestly. I'm like unemployable.
Okay, so Yinka also said that.
Did she? I'm unemployable. Like I can work
What is with you guys?
I can work as a freelancer within somebody else's company and I will work so hard.
Yeah.
But if I'm like an employee, there's something in my brain that just screams no. And I act up like I like challenge authority and all of these weird things. And I'm like,
I get you.
Or my biggest thing is I don't like seeing injustice. I don't like seeing people being taken the mick out of.
Yeah.
So I just can't hold my mouth. I see someone being bullied or being like...
You're going to speak up.
Yeah, I speak up. That's got me in a lot of trouble.
No, that's good. Keep speaking, girl. So let's speak about this.
Yeah. I'm just
Money.
Money. Let's talk about money.
You've been able to navigate the financial, like, you know, jungle that is the creative industry. How important is it to keep records and have an accountant? Like, do people who are in the industry need to be, is it financially literate? Is that the right terminology?
Yeah, I mean, again, same way with my career, same way with everything, being my own agent, like I'm self-taught. I started off really simple, just like a little spreadsheet. In fact, I still keep one to this day. I've got an accountant and I still keep one. And it's literally very simple. It's just like invoice number, the job, the date, what money came in, any expenses associated with it, and whether it's been paid or not. And I just tick it off. And it just gives me a running total of what money's coming in, what money's gone out, and what my end of year, you know, looks like. It can be as simple as that. I think just having your invoice template set up and just changing your invoice number, tying that into your spreadsheet.
Okay.
Quite simple. Like, you don't need an accountant to do that. I'm pretty sure you can learn how to do a self-assessment anywhere online now, like on YouTube or whatever. Or you can just get an accountant just to do your, you know, end of year self-assessment for you, and you send them your spreadsheets, and, you know, it's quite simple. And then they should advise you, but then always ask the questions like, what can I claim back? What am I missing here?
Right.
Travel, whatever, hotels, whatever you've needed to do your job. So yeah, I've always kind of like done it myself. It's funny, we've got a meeting on Friday, Tony and I, with a new accountant about like really getting
the property business.
We've got several businesses and streams of income. So it's like trying to get everything under one house and like get it really streamlined. And, you know, when you get to that point where you do feel like, okay, this is all a bit much and I'm doing spreadsheets till midnight, that's the time you should probably bring in an accountant to, you know, give you direction.
That makes so much sense. You've been able to juggle a lot, and I love that you mentioned making time to be a mom. Little River is too cute. He's literally an influencer to me. Like, I'm like, what's River up to now?
Honestly.
He's so adorable. And I think it's really important that you have dedicated time to being a good mom. But of course, for us women, there is the challenge of trying to figure out when should we have children. And I know, I actually read an article from you years ago where you was really bigging up Holly Willoughby and talking about how you love that she's been able to be a presenter but be a mom and like still be in the industry. And I admire women like her, like yourself, that are showing that it's possible. But was you worried about having a child impacting your career?
So it's really funny. I was in the Capital XTRA studio with Manny, and Manny was like, you and Tony have been together forever. When is the picnic coming?
Money in everyone's business.
I know. First of all, naughty. You're not meant to ask ladies that. But he did. And it did make me think.
Wow.
I was like, soon. I definitely think when I was at Capital XTRA, it didn't feel like the right time because the hours that I was doing. And it felt like I was in a space where, you know, really I should just be giving it 110%. Do you know what I mean? But I definitely just started to get this feeling like Tony and I have been together for 15 years in January next year. So 14 and a half years right now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So we definitely were of the school of thought of like having fun, traveling, like setting up our businesses, like just like living a good life before we had kids, and I definitely didn't feel any pressure. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, you know, you're in your 30s now, are you thinking about it? And I'd be like, no, not at all, I'm good. And then just one day I was like, oh, I think I am thinking about it. And then I had a conversation with him, and I was like, the only thing is, I'm a bit worried, like, if I disappear off this scene, like, it feels like there's no coming back. And, you know, what if Global don't let me stay? And what if I can't stay because of the night shifts? And da-da-da. There's all of these thoughts going through my head. And I would say there's never really a good time, but I did get really lucky in the sense of the country shut down when I was pregnant.
Great time.
So there was no missing out. There was no FOMO. But it was definitely like a massive concern to me.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I think half of the reason I waited until I was 37 to fall pregnant was because I was worried about my career, and the other half was just me and Tony. We had so many things we wanted to do, and
having fun.
Yeah, we were having fun, and I think that's so important. But yeah, the industry will definitely have you second guessing whether it's doable. What I will say is, after having River, I did go back to work after 8 days.
Oh my gosh, I remember that, you crazy woman.
That was a mistake.
Oh my
Like, I hold my hands
gosh.
up. That was a mistake. Like, it was too soon. I was lucky. Again, it was still COVID. I got to work from home.
Oh my gosh.
But I definitely don't think I was ready to be, like, working.
Is that physically, emotionally?
Physically and emotionally. Like,
Wow.
I definitely think, like, 3 months minimum would be next time if I was to go again.
Yeah.
And that is an if, because I don't know. Like, people were already saying to me, when are you going to have another one? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm 40 next year. I'm probably going to go away with my girls and do some things and have some fun.
And you go away and you do it properly.
Yeah,
so.
like, you know, I'm a party pants. Like, can you imagine me going away for my 40th sober and, like, you know, and not that I'm like a big drinker, but like,
but
when
you
if I'm partying,
we mentioned,
yeah.
we need Shanie around if we want to have a good
like,
time.
I'm gonna have a laugh. So
yeah.
you know, but I definitely think probably after that point I would be considering it. But also, like, River's a big personality.
Yeah.
He's a very big personality. I've got my hands full already. And yeah, I don't think Tony and I like to put pressure on ourselves with anything. But, like, if we feel it, we'll do it. And that's literally what we did with River. We felt it, we went for it. You know, like, it was never a big plan. But yeah, I definitely think the industry needs to allow more women to take time and not punish them for that time, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, we get punished for it. Do you know how many people, I don't know if I had this conversation with you, how many people stopped inviting me to events?
What?
Or asking me if I was available for work because, oh, I just thought because you've had the baby now. Like, that comment, I lost my bleep with a few people having to say to them. And another friend of mine who's a big presenter for a very big channel in a very big industry, she literally didn't even get invited to an awards ceremony for an award that she had won.
Oh my God.
Because she'd had her baby, and she found out afterwards that she'd won the award and that the rest of the team went to collect it on her behalf.
Oh my God.
I was like, sorry, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, because, we didn't think you'd want to come because you had a baby. She was like, my baby's 6 months old. I have a husband.
Oh my gosh.
You know, he's looking after the baby. I would have come. Like,
yeah,
I've earned that award over the last however many years. Couldn't believe it when she told me, but also I could, because I was like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah, give us some grace, man.
Yeah.
Like, we can do it.
We can do it if we have the support to do it. Like, you know, I know people that do have the support, and, you know, a friend of mine, she's an influencer, she just got flown to Mexico City to shoot a huge campaign, and the brand paid for her to bring childcare.
Amazing.
Childcare with her, and
that.
because she was still breastfeeding, and they scheduled the day with breastfeeding breaks. Like,
come on, that's what we're talking
you
about.
still got the girl that you want. She still delivered the job. You just facilitated what she needed to do it, you know.
Love that.
It's like that. We need more of that.
Definitely. That is so encouraging. Like, honestly, thank you. That's for future me.
Yeah.
But honestly, this whole conversation has been so encouraging. So let's get to my best favourite bit. Is that a sentence? My favourite part of the interview is the top 5 tips to make it in the mainstream. So, Shanie, hit us.
Okay. I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just going to go with whatever pops
You're not
into my
allowed to
head.
prepare. This is my
good.
favourite part.
Okay, so I would say tip number 1, be self-sufficient for as long as you can. So it makes you more hungry, it makes you more in control, it makes you more passionate, because, you know, if you know you've got an agent scurrying around behind the scenes doing stuff for you,
Yeah.
you probably won't be out there networking as much. You probably won't be out there putting yourself out there, getting into the room as much. I feel like by taking away the agent, the accountant, like, you're going to learn to be better with your own money. You're going to pay attention to your money even when you do have an agent. You're going to go out there, you're going to network, you're going to ask questions, you're going to be inquisitive, you're going to learn, you're going to talk about money. Like, I think sometimes starting out very self-sufficient, trying to figure out how to do your own media kit, maybe have a little side hustle so you can pay for some studio time to do something. Like, just start off being your entire production and management team, I think, is a good place to start.
Amazing.
I'd say tip number 2, definitely don't be afraid to, and I kind of hate myself a little bit for saying this,
okay,
because I don't think anyone should be put in this situation, but the reality is you do still have to do a bit for free in the beginning.
Okay.
I think most people have done it.
Yeah.
And I think you would possibly not create as many opportunities for yourself if you don't offer. Like, there's definitely been times where there's been something going on and no one doesn't need anyone, but I've gone, I'll do it, and you don't need to pay me. And then I have something for my show reel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think those types of allowances, I think, are fine. But when people are coming on going, oh, let's get you to do this and that and the other, and they're promising you the world and not even giving you expenses, that's not okay. That is not okay. But if you're in control of that and you want to put yourself in the room because you see an opportunity or somebody you really want to work with, somebody you really want to learn from, like even this show, somebody might turn around and go, I want to intern for you, Remel. Like, I really want to learn how you make a podcast. Can I come down? And you say yes, that's blessings for them. That's their decision, and they've hopefully made allowances for that. And I know you probably be giving them some expenses or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, but the reality is, like, I think there is space for that, but it just needs to be in the right context.
Okay, good. I like this.
Was that controversial?
No, real. You came to be real, girl.
I did.
So tip number 3.
Number 3. This is a tip that I had to learn for myself in a hard way, which is don't watch what anyone else is doing.
We all need a little bit of that.
Like, and I'm giving it to myself again in this very moment. Yeah. Like, don't watch what anyone else is doing, because there is only one you, and there is only one them, and they're not going to be able to do what you're doing in the way that you're doing it, and you're not going to be able to do what they're doing in the way that they're doing it. Yes, sometimes there's moments in the industry where it's unfair, or you just missed out on something because of something that was completely out of your control. Yeah. Like, it happens all the time. I got asked to host something amazing twice this year, and the first time fell on my legal wedding ceremony, and the second time fell on my hen do.
No way.
And I wasn't in the country, and I was like, oh, it was so frustrating. And then I saw someone else doing it, and now I'm like, oh my God, what if they get to ask to do loads of more things because of that? But, life be life in, and, you know, if it was meant to be in that moment, I'm sure something great's around the corner for me,
always
in a similar lane. But I think just, like, stay focused on what it is that you want, and try not to look at what anyone else is doing, because all it does is make you feel rubbish. If they're slightly punching ahead,
Pretty much.
it just makes you feel rubbish. So it's a bit like stalking people on social media and being like, oh, look how great they look, and I don't look as great in that outfit when I wore it. It's like, you're just making yourself feel bad. Just don't do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Number 3.
That was number 3. Got 2 more.
Why is there so many?
Because they're top 5 tips.
Okay. Make genuine friendships.
Oh, okay.
In the industry, like, that you want to go into. Don't make friends with people because they can get you something. Don't talk to someone because they can do something for you. Just, like, find something real to connect on. Yeah. Like, I recently connected with somebody purely because we had kids the same age. Turns out she's a really powerful, high-up person with a brand that I've been working for a couple of years. I just started talking to her. I didn't know who she was. We didn't talk about work at all. And then at the end of it, I was like, oh, what's your name again? She's like, oh, I'm the head of this. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I think you're really cool. Like, I'm really looking forward to working with you more, in the future. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, but we just connected about real life stuff. Exactly so I think sometimes you can go into a room with too much intention to, like, meet someone or get something from someone, and it's just not good. In fact, I'm pretty bad at doing that. Like, I'm pretty bad at that. I'd just like to meet people and get to know them and
Yeah.
their real lives and connect with them on a more human level. And you'll find you probably stay in somebody's mind a lot more.
Yeah.
They'll be more inclined to want to work with you in the future. If an opportunity does come up, they think, oh, that girl, she was a presenter. I really liked her.
Yeah, exactly that.
And it's not because I went, hi, I'm a presenter and I do this and I've done that and blah, blah, and here's my socials and can I get your details and can I email you on Monday? It's just like you've had a chat and then maybe you give them a little follow on socials. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You know, keep it simple.
I love that. And number 5. One more, girl.
Number 5. I would say be smart with your money. And be smart with your, like, the business of what you do. Do you know what I mean? Like, we look at ourselves as, you know, presenters, or maybe you're a singer, maybe you're a dancer, maybe you're an actor, and we focus so much on the craft, we forget we're a business.
Yeah. You know,
what does your business look like? Are you putting some of your income back into your business?
Definitely.
Like, is your media kit up to date? Is your show up to date? Do you need to put some money aside for a rebrand? Like, all of these things. Invest in yourself in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, remember you're a brand. And also, I think it's really good when you're a solo person to not be afraid to kind of get some help in the sense of, I recently worked with a coach called Hey It's Okay.
Okay.
Her name's Jordan. She's a friend of mine, but she started a business, a coaching business, and I never thought that being a presenter I would need something like that. Like, why do I need a coach?
Yeah.
But actually, I wanted to do a rebrand. I'm taking my career very much in a kind of presenting property space, and that's very different from what I've been doing. So I needed to, like, rebrand my showreel, my website, like everything new, and start creating some more content around that, which I haven't put out there yet. I'm focusing that on our interiors page, but it was really good to have somebody that was like, okay, so what do you want? And how are you going to get there? And what are you going to do in the next week? And what are you going to do in the next 3 weeks? And what are you going to do in the next 3 months? And I tell you what, by having that weekly coaching call, I achieved everything I wanted to do in 3 months, in 3 weeks.
Damn.
So sometimes it's really good to go, you know what? I need a bit of help, or I need a bit of focus. I need someone to guide me, because you might have an agent, but she might have like 17 other clients.
Yeah.
She doesn't have time to guide you through it. So invest in yourself.
You did it. Top 5 tips, and they were good.
They're a bit long, weren't they?
But they're good.
Talk too much. Wonder why that is. I should be a presenter.
Yeah. This is why you get paid the big bucks.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, honestly, I have loved getting a little deep dive into your world, into your career, the journey. The journey's beautiful, man, and I'm so happy that the spreadsheet worked.
Yeah. Well, we've got a new spreadsheet now,
Oh, my
Remel.
Lord.
So we're at a new spreadsheet. It's a new day. We're going in a new direction. And, you know, it's that thing of putting myself out there all over again, doing something new.
I hear
Like,
that.
still presenting, but in a very specific set for space. And, you know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's a lot not going on that I would like to be going on.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, it's okay to start again.
I agree.
And push in a different direction from time to time. So I guess it's a watch this space moment for me, I think.
Love that. We're always watching. And how can everyone follow and keep up to date?
Oh, so it's at Shanie_Ryan on Instagram. I don't really tweet much. I should be better at that. You love tweeting.
Nah, I
don't you?
stopped.
You stopped.
You seen the new X? We'll talk about another time.
You want the birdie back?
I want the bird back. But anyway.
Yeah, no. But also I've got my new website, which is shanieryan.co.uk.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Shanie Ryan, for joining us on the main stream.